Help is coming, says Trump. The President of the United States of America, Donald Trump, has sent a strong warning message to Iran, stating, "If you could violently kill innocent peaceful protesters, the United States of America will come to their rescue."
Good morning and welcome in here to Live Now from Fox. I'm your host, Christy Matino, and new this morning we're hearing from President Trump on Iran as he just posted to Truth Social just hours ago. On your screen, there is the statement from President Trump as he and top Iranian officials exchanged dueling threats today as widening economic protests swept across parts of the Islamic Republic, further escalating tensions between the countries after America bombed Iranian nuclear sites back in June. President Trump initially wrote on his Truth Social platform warning Iran that if it, quote, violently kills peaceful protesters, the United States will come to their rescue. At least 7 people have been killed so far in violence surrounding the demonstrations, sparked in part by the collapse of Iran's currency. Now, shortly after, a former parliament speaker who serves as the secretary of Iran's Supreme National Security Council alleged on the social platform X that Israel and the U.S. were stoking the demonstrations. He offered no evidence to support that allegation, which Iranian officials have repeatedly made during years of protests sweeping the country. And I wanted to share that post with you here as well on Live Now from Fox. This also coming in just a short time ago at this point. And I wanted to read this to you. It says, with statements from Israeli officials and President Trump, what was happening behind the scenes has become clear. We distinguish between the position of the protesting merchants and the actions of the sabotage elements, and Trump must realize that U.S. intervention in this internal matter will lead to destabilizing the entire region and destroying American interests. The American people must know that Trump is the one who started this adventure, and they should pay attention to the safety of their soldiers. So bringing you both comments here on social media this morning. Those remarks likely referenced America's wide military footprint in the region. Iran in June attacked an airbase in Qatar after the U.S. strikes on 3 nuclear sites during Israel's 12-day war on the Islamic Republic. The current protests, now in their 6th day, have become the biggest in Iran since 2022, when the death of 22-year-old Mahsa Amini in police custody triggered nationwide demonstrations. However, the demonstrations have yet to be countrywide and have not been as intense as those surrounding the death of Amini. The protests taking root in economic issues have heard demonstrators chant against Iran's theocracy as well. Months after the war, Iran said it was no longer enriching uranium at any site in the country, trying to signal to the West that it remains open to potential negotiations over its atomic program to ease sanctions. However, those talks have yet to happen as President Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu have warned Tehran against reconstituting its atomic program. So once again, President Trump and top Iranian officials exchanging threats this morning over social media, and we will continue to follow this story here for you on Live Now from Fox.
We move now to a Fox News alert. President Trump overnight standing in solidarity with protesters fighting against oppression in Iran as clashes enter day 6 with multiple reported deaths. The president writing on Truth Social early this morning, quote, if Iran shoots and violently kills peaceful protesters, which is their custom, the United States of America will come to their rescue. We are locked and loaded and ready to go. Hudson Institute Senior Fellow Aaron McClain joins me now. Aaron, I'll just start right off with your reaction to President Trump's Truth Social this morning.
Hey, good morning. I was told last summer that if the president struck the Iranian nuclear program, the consequences would be World War III and the consolidation of support for the Iranian regime within Iran. Obviously, the opposite essentially in both cases has come to pass, and you have the Iranian regime here teetering on the brink. The president's words are welcome, and sometimes we underestimate the power of words in situations like this to give courage to people, the dissidents and the protesters in the streets of Iran who are acting at extraordinary peril, standing up for their own freedom. But as the president's own comments imply, words are probably not going to be enough. We've been down this road before. These protests tend to have tragic endings, and it may be helpful for the United States to take action in support of the protesters.
And you see some of the images of these protests on your screen right now. We have seen reports of people chanting, quote, death to the dictator, a clear reference to Iran's supreme leader, the Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. And this is all because of deteriorating economic conditions, particularly since the 12-day war with Israel this summer. Take a look at these numbers from the New York Times. The annual inflation rate, 42.2% in December. The Iranian rial, the currency, dropped to a record low against the U.S. dollar. Salaries dropping rapidly for residents. And the 2026 budget shows substantial decreases in oil revenue and increases in reliance on taxes. Now, these protesters are mostly merchants and shopkeepers and students. You referenced this a little bit, but I just want to really dig into this. What is the kind of personal risk that these protesters are taking, and do they stand any chance of actually getting what they want?
Well, the risk is death. This regime is one of the world's great executioners. This year alone, hundreds, if not thousands, of Iranians have died in its prisons, especially since the 12-day war back in June, which was followed by rounds and rounds of arrests at home. The stakes are total for these people. And your economic statistics are all absolutely correct. And they also, by the way, point the direction for this administration to follow should they choose to offer support. If the president's standards are protesters getting shot, there are reports of that already circulating. And it's further economic pressure. It's going after the regime's revenue sources, in particular enforcing the sanctions that are already on the books targeting the regime's energy revenues that will really begin to put pressure on this regime, which is what you're going to have. This regime is willing to use force. It has used it over and over again against its own people. That's what's going to happen here again, almost certainly. And this only has a good ending if the regime starts to doubt its own ability to continue. That's the effect that this administration would need to generate.
Aaron, I got one more quick one for you as we move now to Venezuela. The Trump administration implementing a lot of the same tactics, trying to cripple Venezuela's economy. But notably, in a state interview television, Nicolas Maduro said that he's now ready to speak with the United States and negotiate with the Trump administration. Do you think that Trump is ready to talk, or is regime change the only solution here?
Oh, gosh, if I were Nicolas Maduro, I might want a deal as well. Venezuela really is the target of relentless sanctions enforcement on top of some other pretty strong measures. We see the Trump administration seizing these tankers at sea. We have this complicated story of the tanker that's claiming to be Russian right now, running from the United States Coast Guard. It's not clear exactly what the terms of the deal would be, given that, as you point out in your question, for several weeks now, it's been pretty clear that what the Trump administration wants is Maduro's own removal. And if what Maduro is going to bring to the table involves things like further Eurasian great power interference in the Western Hemisphere, like the Russian diplomatic involvement in this tanker situation, I can't imagine that's going to be that attractive to this administration.
All right, Aaron McClain, we appreciate all of your insight.